Hey everyone, welcome back to the Anderson Bros Outdoors. I'm Jake, and today we're going to review the new Castle Cobra 8 ESC from Castle Products, so stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome back. Like I said, my name's Jake. Today we're going to go over the new ESC from Castle. It is the Cobra 8. I don't actually have the box. I already threw it away. I had created a video on this, but I was editing it and I didn't really like it, so we're just going to start over. So as everyone probably knows, Castle came out with a new ESC called the Cobra 8. It is very special or unique because it's the first AM32 chip ESC that Castle has came out with. The AM32 chip is very popular in the drone space, and now it's becoming extremely popular in the open source world, meaning that a lot of the ESCs that you're buying today for your crawler, such as the Rhino ESC, the Silent Assassin ESC, even the Holmes Hobby V3 for brushless motors, they're all AM32 equipped. And what that means is that it has an AM32 chip in it, or 32-bit chip inside of the ESC, and it allows for the use of the AM32 software. AM32 software is just a generic term for software that resides on the ESC, much like Castle software or BL Heli or whatever have you. Moral of the story is ESCs are evolving with technology. 32-bit is actually getting more legacy now than anything. Everything is moving to 64-bit, especially in ARM processing, things of that nature, for a variety of reasons, and I'm not going to get into those reasons. Just know that 32 is more historic than it is current. It's really exciting that Castle comes out with the new ESC that is 32-bit architecture and hopefully conform to some of the other ESCs that we're using today. Now, the ESC is likely made for bashing. It is a 2 through 6S ESC. I think it's 150 amp. I don't know the technical specs. There will be a link in the description below that will take you to the ESC. Just know that the ESC is really cool because it's now got the 32-bit chip and it's potentially got the ability to be programmed from open source applications. We'll see. With that being said, what's it going in? So I'm sure you know by the title of the video that it is going into my axial SCX6. Let's break that out and let's see what that looks like. Here we have the axial SCX6. This is a, I think, 5th scale crawler. They're relatively heavy. They're probably like 25 pounds or so. I don't know the exact weight. I don't have a scale big enough to weigh this. Anyway, so it's a bone stock truck. It comes with a 120 amp ESC that is, it looks like a 10 scale ESC. It is very tiny. It is a sensored motor. It does have the sensor wire going to it. The Castle Cobra 8 is also a sensored motor, and we've already taken the liberty to install it. We did have to resolder in new bullets. So the stock ESC actually has like 2.5 millimeter bullets that go into the ESC, and the Cobra 8 has 6.5 millimeter bullets. So we had to buy new bullets and put them in there. It does not come with the bullets. However, it does come with the programmer, so that's a plus. We did get the ESC put in there. We have tested it, and I'm not going to bore you with all of the details of testing. I did get some footage of doing the testing on 3S and 4S from stock versus the Cobra 8. It was really windy, and I'm not going to showcase it for a couple of reasons, and I'm going to get into those right now. The installation process was relatively easy. Like I said, I had to buy some 6.5 millimeter bullets and solder them onto the motor. I hooked it up. Wham bam, it all came together magically. The issue, there was one specific issue that arose, is that the stock motor from Axial is a Spectrum, and it has a round sensor wire. The Castle ESC has a rectangular sensor wire. You can't put these together. Problem number 2. The first problem was the bullets. There is no sensor connection to the motor. Note that. Moving on, the installation was fairly easy. There wasn't anything bad. You do have to buy the bullets, obviously. You will have to also buy an adapter for the sensor wire connector, or figure out which wires go where and solder them together and turn it into a huge disaster. Your choice. How does it work? Well, the stock truck crawls relatively slowly. I will link a video of it crawling. I'll probably put it right over here. On 3S in first gear with the stock motor and ESC. So you do see that it does have some low speed control. I don't know what to compare it against, so we'll just say it has good low speed control on the stock setup. Now let's move into the Cobra 8. Well, there is some feedback on this, but before I provide the feedback on the pros and cons of the Cobra 8, let's watch the video over here, yet again, of first gear, slow speed with the Cobra 8. And you can see that there is a noticeable difference in the amount of low speed control with the Cobra 8 versus the stock Spectrum ESC. All right, there's no audio for this footage because it was really windy, like I said, and it's annoying. You saw the difference between the low speed control while doing or attempting to do a vertical climb. Let's talk about the Cobra 8 itself. The ESC does actually come with a programmer because you're not able to use CastleLink V1 programmer. So the original CastleLink programmer is now called the V1, and there is a new programmer called CastleLink V2. I assume it's going to come in the first batches of ESCs, and then it's going to be something you're going to have to buy outside of the ESC itself. There is also a note there. You're not able to use the original CastleLink firmware or application on your Windows computer. Now it is called CastleLink V1. CastleLink V2 is the application that supports both the new AM32 programmer and also the original V1. Just note that when you go to use it, you can't actually program it with V1. You will have to download the new executable and install it on your computer. It is CastleLink V2. So there is one update. The other thing, I did try and program it with the AM32 application, and unfortunately it didn't work. It saw the ESC was there, but it wouldn't connect to it. So I assume that Castle has taken the AM32 software and has created a proprietary connection to it with their Castle Link V2. Just know that you will have to use their program to program this ESC. Can you unlock or hack or jailbreak the ESC? Potentially, yeah, but I'm not going to do that. You can look out for that in the future. Somebody might do it, but not this guy. That is a little bit about the Cobra 8. Now let's talk about the positives and the negatives to this ESC. The positive is it's a runner. 3S, 4S, and I didn't try 6S because 4S was plenty. On 3S and 4S, it did very well. The low speed control was fantastic, even without the sensor wire hooked up, and it had extremely fast throttle response, and it was also very fast. So it had the wheel speed in first gear, then it also had the wheel speed in second gear, obviously. But in second gear, I could crawl almost as slow as I did in first gear, which is really, really cool. The ESC itself is, from a pro's perspective, is relatively cheap. I think they're 189 bucks, and it has really good low speed control. Now let's talk about some things that I didn't really like with the ESC. The first thing I didn't like with the ESC that I noticed immediately was everything is already soldered to the board, meaning that your sensor wire, your ESC wire, and your power wires are pre-installed for you, and you can't actually remove them. You can't replace them. You would have to get a new board or pull it all apart and resolder the connectors on the board itself. I didn't really like that initially, and I still don't, but that's not a huge deal. The other thing that I don't really like about it is once I got it connected to the truck, I was able to program it, and the issue that I have is the ESC doesn't have the ability to program the motor KV. One of the very important things about the AM32 software with the open source application is it allows you to program the KV into the ESC. If you have a 1300 kV motor like this motor here, you can put it in the AM32 software and program it into your ESC and say, hey, it's a 1300 kV motor. If you have a 2600 kV motor, same thing. So you can do all of the different things in the open source AM32 application. You can't actually do a lot of those things in the CastleLink V2. There are some trade-offs there. Now, the other really big complaint that I had with the ESC is it whines. Even with the stock motor, and it's not even an outrigger, it whines. And it's not really loud, but it's noticeable. I know a lot of people have commented historically when I've used the Mamba Micro X2 on a outrigger motor such as the Holmes Hobby 1800 kV. It makes a really like a loud screeching noise. This isn't loud, but the screeching noise is there. Now I don't know if that's because we don't actually have the sensor wire connected or not, but I don't have any other motors laying around that I could test it with, so I haven't tested it on anything else. But that's something to note. If you're running a sensorless setup or what have you, you could potentially get some whine, and I know a lot of people hate it. That's kind of one of the big things that I didn't like about it. Now, the third thing, and it's not really a con, but I don't have the ability to make this motor and the ESC censored. I want to make it censored. I'm not actually going to leave a negative review for it. Just know that there are some potential downsides of not having the sensor wire hooked up. Now, the ESC specifications do state that it is sensor, sensorless, and brushed capable. We should be all right with this motor, even though it is a censored motor, but there's no connection censored wise. It's just got the 3 primary wires. That is actually where we ran into the biggest problem of them all. In Castle's documentation, it states that it's okay to run a censored motor in an uncensored fashion. However, with this Spectrum motor that's in this truck, it sounds almost like it's breaking the motor. When you're in sine mode, which is really, really slow, barely any throttle mode, the motor itself sounds like it is grinding gears in the transmission. It's really loud, it's really obnoxious, it sounds like you're really breaking the truck. I'll have a clip of this right now. You can see what I mean. In sine mode, it's terrible. Now, I don't know if this is actually going to happen with the censored wires connected. As I stated, I don't have the connector. I've been looking for it, but all I've been able to find is a adapter that is male for the round Spectrum style connector and a female for the Castle connector. So I haven't found a male Castle to a male Spectrum. That is the issue. And since this wire or this censored wire is soldered to the board, that is why the connector has a female end on it, is because typically you pull this sensor wire out and you connect the female end inside of the ESC and the male end on the Spectrum itself. Unfortunately, there are no adapters for this that I can find, at least, because of the fact that the sensor wire on the ESC is soldered directly to the ESC. So that's a pretty big issue. Now, overall, again, I think that it actually runs really well. It's not a bad ESC, but there are some potential downsides, at least for the SCX6. My advice is that if you do purchase the ESC for your SCX6, make sure that you get the ESC and the motor, probably like an 1100 to 1300 kV motor. You could even go as low as 800 to 1300 kV. Or you just be prepared for it sounding like a garbage disposal when you go to take off, because it's going to sound pretty bad. Overall, I'm very happy that Castle has released a 32-bit chipset in their ESCs. I think that they are probably waiting and testing a lot before they release anything for the crawlers like what we want. But for the bashers, it is absolutely awesome that they do have that available at this time. And honestly, I think that if you buy the Cobra 8 ESC with the motor that's paired with it, it'll probably run just fine in your SCX6 along with your basher. I am extremely happy with the direction of the ESC market and where it's going. And would I recommend it? Absolutely. You know, is it something that you should buy the first round of? Maybe, maybe not. If you were on a budget, I would potentially hold off on purchasing this until they've got it refined, because I think that the Cobra 8 is really the beta model, and they're working all of the bugs out through us as a community, and they'll probably refine it and they'll have a Cobra 8 V2 or whatever they want to call it. That's what we have today. Thanks for watching. Feel free to drop a like. We appreciate all of the support. Huge shout out to the people in the next scene, and we hope you have a great day.